Is that the Tremaine Hawkins?
Yes, Tremaine Hawkins bringing us in with changed. I'm so glad he changed me. We're going to use Tremaine Hawkins to center our conversation today right here at Community Voices Live on KABF 88.3 FM, where we are the voice of the people. We are so glad and grateful that you have stopped by. Let me just slow down and say that again. We are so glad and grateful that you have stopped by to join us on this day as we have this conversation. It is only because of you. But yesterday was the anniversary? Was it yesterday? Is it today? Anniversary of KABF 39 years?
It was the 20th.
The 20th. Oh, so you've already helped us to make it 29 years. And we do not take that lightly. We do not take that for granted. So thank you so much for being here. The phone lines are absolutely open. 501-433-0088, 501-433-0088. And I just want to make sure that I greet us this morning with our Zulu tribal greeting, which is Sawubona. Especially these days, we need to be reminded that no matter what we do, no matter what we think, no matter how we act, we are still bound by the spirit of oneness through our humanity. As humans, we are connected one to another. Now, what you do with that is going to be totally up to you, but you can't change it. You never will be able to change that fact. So before I get started, I want to make sure that you have an opportunity to be greeted by your co-host, the Pastor Toney Orr.
Well, good morning. I hope everybody's having a great morning so far. Thank you for once again. Just want to just piggyback on what Denise said. We just are so grateful and thankful that you show up for KABF. However way you show up, whether it's your donations, what your pledges, what your monthly membership, or just tune into one of the over 70 shows that are produced here every week. We could not have made it 39 years without you. You are the voice. You are the people. You are the community. And we are just so grateful for all that you do for KABF. So we're looking forward to another 39 years. And remember, you don't have to wait till a pledge drive. You can donate to KABF at any time. So I'm looking forward. I love that song by Tremaine Hawkins. It always lifts me up.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, so I want to see where the Reverend Dr. Denise is going to take us with it. Because I've learned throughout the years of our show is that what I may think she's going with the song, most of the time is not where she's going, but it's always an interesting conversation. So sit back, relax, strap in, buckle in, however, get your finger on the phone to be able to call in and let's see where we go.
So I want to get started with just a few announcements before we get to our EJI tidbit, and then we will move right into the conversation. Get certified. There's a lunch and learn happening on August 30th, which is tomorrow. Tomorrow from 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. at 120 River Market Avenue, right here downtown in Little Rock, 72201. You will have an opportunity to meet with Cassandra Kidd, who is the Business Access Advisor at U.S. Bank. So those of you who have businesses, you need to make sure your businesses are certified. There will be insights on certification sponsorship programs, supplier diversity, benefits of certifying your business, all of that you can talk about on tomorrow from 11:30 to 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. right here at Rocket Lab with Cassandra Kidd. I also want you to know that tomorrow from 5:30 to 7:30, there is happy hour at Petaway Coffee. Happy hour at Petaway Coffee, which is right down the street from where we are at the radio station, and just a little up the street if you're headed west from where we play dominoes on Fridays. So happy hour is happening at Petaway Coffee. You can get wine and beer. You can also get a cocktail, but the cocktail is going to be non-alcoholic. And let me just say, I had a non-alcoholic cocktail at Petaway Coffee the other day, and it was, I had an old fashioned. And so for those of you who know old fashions, you know how to drink, this non-alcoholic cocktail is not going to fool you. You are not going to think that you really have an old fashioned, but it is quite tasty, and it is worth the time if you are willing to go to happy hour and get a non-alcoholic cocktail. And you can get beer and wine and water and juice and coffee and whatever else you want. That's from 5:30 to 7:30 tomorrow, happy hour at Petaway Coffee. And it's also happening tomorrow from 6 to 7. So you got 5:30 to 6:30, you got a 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock. It's a lot going on tomorrow. You got unfinished business with the Equal Rights Act. They're trying to continue the conversation right here in Arkansas to make sure that we are fighting for the Equal Rights Act in Arkansas. Denise Donnell plans to be there, and so you might see her from 6 to 7 on tomorrow. ERA, yes, unfinished business, the fight for the ERA, the Equal Rights Act in Arkansas, that is also happening. And then on Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., Saturday is September the 2nd, again, right here on 21st Street, 408 East 21st Street, they'll have the market at Petaway Square. This is sponsored by the Petaway Neighborhood Association. They'll have food, vendors, music, arts and crafts, and they are in partnership with Kiva and Forge. That's happening Saturday, September 2nd from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So I want to make sure that I make all of those announcements. You got a busy day on tomorrow if you want to take advantage of those activities. And then there is something happening on Saturday. And y'all know what to do. If y'all can't remember, just hit me up like you always do at area code 228-236-7440, area code 228-236-7440. And the last announcement I want to make is to make sure everybody knows that Simone Biles, the young Black woman gymnast, has made history. She's the first woman or man to win 8 national all-around titles. 8. Can you say it again? 8. 8, the number that stands for a newness. It's a newness. She makes history. So I want to make sure that everyone is aware of that.
Came out of retirement for number 8.
Okay, so our EJI tidbit, I don't know what that is. I think I'm taking some kind of medication that's making me. So the EJI tidbit for today, on this day, August 29th, let me just say happy birthday to my brother. Happy birthday, Derek. My older brother he turns 60 today. His name is Derek, this one lives in Cape Coral. I got one living in Fort Myers, one lives in Cape Coral. This is Cape Coral, Florida. Derek's birthday is today. So on August 29th in 1961, Bob Moses is beaten while helping to register voters. Bob Moses is beaten while helping to register voters. He becomes the first Black person to file charges against a white person for violence we call it Amite, because I'm from Mississippi, we call it Amite. Some people call it Amite. Amite County, Mississippi, but his attacker is later acquitted. One more time. Bob Moses is beaten while helping to register voters. He becomes the first Black person to file charges against a white person for violence in Amite County, Mississippi, but his attacker is later acquitted. I think this is so timely. I'm just so fascinated by these EJI tidbits because they seem to be so timely for us. Another reason why we continue to lift them up, because we want you to know that the past is not the past. This past is our very present, and if we are not careful, it will be our very near future. But when it talks about Bob Moses being beaten while helping to register voters, it reminds me of all of the pushback that we've had recently to suppress voter registration, all of the efforts to suppress voting when you talk about they don't want you to even give anybody water while they're standing in
Right.
line. It's
Right.
a whole law that you can't even give somebody water while they're standing in line. You know the line is long. You know it's hot outside. So all of these efforts to make sure that not only do we suppress the vote, we try to get people to think that voting is not important. Not only do we have these efforts to make sure that we dilute the vote by splitting up all of the gerrymandering that we do to split up the vote so that it does not have as much power, and particularly in Black communities. We do all of these things even now, and this was happening in 1961, which wasn't long ago. Because remember, I just told you my brother is celebrating his 60th birthday today, so this is his lifetime that this is happening.
That's my birth year, so.
Okay, so this is not the distant past that we're talking about. I cannot wait for someone to turn the quote unquote history, the history newsreels into color, because I think that because they're in black and white, that gives a lot of people this idea that it was a long time ago. But if you put it in color, then I think that it will come to life for more people who need to see it as a very present practice that we have right now in our country. But I also thought this was interesting because Bob Moses is the first Black person to file charges against a white person for violence in Amite County in Mississippi. Because right now, with everything that's going on with former President Trump, you have a Black woman who filed the charges against this white man, and without fear, right? Like being fierce and bold. The District Attorney Fannie Willis was not afraid to say, no, this is what we about to do. Let me tell you what you're not gonna do in Georgia. And so I thought it was a very timely example of what's happening, not just in 1961, but right now on August 29th, 2023, we can have this conversation in real time. But I'm also worried just a little bit because it says, but his attacker is later acquitted. So when we think about what the right wing, what the conservative Republicans, what the Republican Party has done with the mug shot, right? Because like, we're gonna fight you, we want him to be acquitted. And so I thought, listen to this. Bob Moses is beaten while helping to register voters. He becomes the first Black person to file charges against a white person for violence in Amite County, Mississippi, but his attacker is later acquitted. And that is what we are seeing right now happening in real time.
I think, not just with Fannie Willis, but if you look at the three most prominent indictments that have come against Donald Trump, Lita James, the Attorney General, New York, the state of New York, she filed the indictment against Trump and his organization. Then Alvin Bragg, the Manhattan District Attorney, filed the indictment against Trump when it came to the sexual assault indictment against Trump, and now Fannie Willis. All three are Black. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that one of the underlying currents that a lot of far white, a lot of white supremacists are upset about is that you have these three Black people who are filing these indictments, who are accusing this former president who was white of these charges. And then you read the tidbit, and it just, like you said, we think it's so far away, but it's really just yesterday.
Absolutely. So for those of you who are watching on Facebook, I'm trying to do a little something different these days. So that is a picture of Fannie Willis, the district attorney in Fulton County, Georgia, that we're talking about. We have some more pictures. If I name the people, I'm really trying to show their faces just to be a little more interactive while you are online. But that is District Attorney Fannie Willis right there.
Yeah.
Were you about to say something?
I'm just saying that, the former president, Donald Trump, has called her Peekaboo Willis. He has said that she's deranged, that she is not fit for office, and so many other things. And it just goes back. I know a lot of people don't want to hear about the past, but they don't want to hear about the present either. And they both go hand in hand.
I want to pause for just a minute because I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this story, but I do want to pause and lift up the three Black people who were killed in Jacksonville at the Dollar General store. I do want to hold space for them this morning because, again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the story, but that does not mean that I am not paying attention. That does not mean that my heart is not broken. That does not mean that I am dismissing their lives in any way. But I want to just pause right now so that we can be quiet and be silent and center ourselves around their lives and to just think about the Selah. That's what the Bible says. If you have that old-timey Bible that most people like to use in the Psalms, if you're reading the Psalms over there on the right, kind of like in the margin, you'll see this word Selah, Selah, which means to pause and calmly think about that. And so I want us to pause and calmly think about these lives that were needlessly taken over the weekend. So let's pause for just a moment. Okay, thank you for that. Tony, actually, this conversation is born out of something that you said to me. I don't really remember when it was. I don't even really remember what we were talking about that led up to it. But you were leading the conversation, and you said Bible. You said something about the Bible, and then you clarified. It wasn't a qualification. You said, "Well, I know you are trying to get people to stop." Trying to move people away from the Bible. You said, well, you mentioned the word Bible, you said something about Bible, and you said, well, I know you are trying to move people away from the Bible, but I just want to say this. And I didn't really hear much after that because I zoned out thinking about you saying, I'm trying to move people away from the Bible. And I said, wait a minute. Is that what you think? Do you remember that conversation?
Mm-hmm.
I said, is that what you think I'm doing? And you were like, well, I know you how you feel. I can't really remember again because I zoned out. And I said, no, I'm not at all trying to get people to move away from the Bible. I'm asking them to set it in its proper context. Mm-hmm. That's what I said. Do you remember that conversation?
Yes.
And so I said, well, if you think that that's what I'm trying to do, then you're not the only one who thinks that. So I just want to make sure that I'm making myself clear. And so this song by Tremaine Hawkins, I'm gonna put a picture up. Yeah, look at Tremaine. Tremaine Hawkins, this song Changed, that she's singing as part of her, when she was married to Walter Hawkins, and they had this group, and she was singing this song. She's the lead singer on the song. The song is called Changed, and it's one of those songs where if you have any experience with the Black church, this is the kind of song where you can sing somebody happy. This is the kind of song where just listening to the drive of the bass line and the music, just listening to the lyrics of the song, just that alone, the music and the lyrics, that enough will make you start to feel a certain kind of way. It's that feeling that starts way down deep in your belly. Sometimes it starts at the tip of your toes, and you can begin to feel the music driving itself through your body until you cannot stand it. You have to do something to let the world know that you feel what is being said. The music is driving, the lyrics are being sung, and you get caught up in it. And that's all just by listening to the words. But when you have a singer like Tremaine Hawkins who can embody that word, so now when she's singing the song, you can see her leaning over backwards. You can see her bending her back. You can see her folding herself over. You can see her throwing her arms. You just watch her. So you already got the music driving. You're listening to the words, and then you're watching her, and you get the can't help it. That's what some of the old folks call it. The can't help it. And before you know it, you have danced your way out of that pew, and you are in the aisle, and you are shouting, and you are crying, and you are speaking in tongues, and you are falling out. You're doing all of those things that we do as charismatic worshipers. All of those things that we do, those of us, and it's not just Black folks. I've seen some Pentecostal white folks. I've seen them shout themselves happy too. But all of this happens in our bodies because we are listening to this music, and we are hearing these words, and we are watching somebody, even if it's not a celebrity like Tremaine Hawkins. We've got local singers in our churches that can do the same thing. And so you feel this movement in your body, and you begin to express it because you know what she's talking about when she says, I've been changed. You know what that means. Because one of the things that she says as she is ad-libbing to the song is that I'm not what I want to be. Like, I'm still striving to be more, striving to be better, striving to improve. So I'm not yet where I'm going to be. But I can thank God that I'm not what I used to be. When I look back over my life and I think about what God has done, I can't help but shout, thank you that I'm changed. So this is what she's saying to us. And I love it. I absolutely love this song. But it reminds me of the conversation with you, Toney, because yes, I don't mind a good shout. I don't mind. I don't mind the music moving me to act and to express and to emote. I don't mind that. However, I do think that it is always important that no matter what it is we're listening to, whether we're reading the Bible or listening to a song, when we get to talking about the church, that we remind ourselves that we need to set it in its proper context. And so I'm thinking about Tremaine Hawkins and this word change. I guess first let me ask you, Toney, what do you hear when you hear the word change? What does that mean to you?
Something is different about you. Something is different.
Absolutely. So when I think about Tremaine Hawkins singing this song, Change, and I looked up the definition of the word change, what I encourage people to do always, and I used to teach public school, especially when I taught sixth grade, the most frustrating thing for me in sixth grade was getting my students to expand their vocabulary. Because what they would do is, even if I asked them to look, okay, go home, and this is your homework, you have these definitions of these words, and I want you to look them up in the dictionary and bring them back. And so what the dictionary will do is it will take a word like changed. Let's just use that word. It'll take the word changed, which is the past tense, and this is what it'll say in the dictionary. It'll say something like the very first definition will say the past tense of change. So my students will come in because they're just copying right out of the dictionary, and they'll ask them, okay, well, what does it mean to be changed? And they'll say, well, that's the past tense of change. Well, if you don't know what the word change means, then you haven't given me the answer. So I don't understand the dictionary using the same word to define the word itself. And so I would get frustrated because the dictionary was letting me down, not just my students, the dictionary was letting me down. So thank God for a mama that was my mentor. My mama was my mentor, and she taught me a better way to help my students expand their vocabulary. One of the ways that you can do a better job with the dictionary is to read beyond the first definition, the first entry. Read beyond that. Read the second and the third. Read it as a noun. Read it as a verb. Just spend some time there. And then what you can do is take all of what the dictionary is giving you as a definition and decide what works for you. Put all of that together in one sentence so that it fits your understanding. How does it work in your mind? How does it come to life in your body? How do you understand it in a way that you can share it with somebody else? Because the whole point of us gaining more knowledge, gaining more information is so that we can share it. But if you've got knowledge and information stored up in you that you don't know how to articulate, that you don't know how to distribute, that you don't know how to disseminate, then what good is all of that knowledge that you have if you can't help me understand what I need to understand? And so looking at the dictionary has to become an entirely new experience rather than just looking at the first word and writing down or memorizing whatever it says. So if you take time with the dictionary and you look up this word change, here is what you could possibly find as a definition. That change means, as a verb, change as a verb, meaning to add action, what we're going to do, how you're going to move with it. To make the form of something, to make the nature of something different from what it would be if you left it alone. Change means to make the nature of something different than what it would be if you left it alone. So when I think about Tremaine Hawkins singing this song about being changed, and I'm watching her as a Black woman sing this song, a Black woman in America sing this song, and I apply this definition that you've been changed. So what you're saying to me, Tremaine, is that when you sit at the feet, because she said I sit at his feet, when I sit at his feet, That's part of the song. When you sit at the feet of the person that many of us call master, when you sit at the feet of your master that we have painted as white and blonde haired and blue eyed, when you sit at the feet of this master and you say, thank God you've changed me, then using this definition, what we're saying is, thank God that you have changed the nature of who I would be if I were left alone. And so if we are thinking about what religion does to us, only in that context, you're saying, okay, so who I could be if I were left alone becomes something else if I give myself over to this religion, if I give myself over to this construct that tells me who God is and what God can be and what I'm supposed to do about it. Then I say things like what Tremaine says later on. He changed my walk. He changed my talk. He changed my life. I said, well, wait a minute, Black woman. Let me think about that. What happens to us in America? What has happened to us members of the Black collective, those who are all members of the African diaspora? That's how I always define Black. When we think about this religion that was given to us, because it's not the religion that we came over here with, but when we think about the religion that has been given to us, the religion that pulls out and selects the passages that they want us to know, making sure to avoid the passages that liberate us, the passages that make sure that we understand that subservience is the way to enter the gates into heaven. When I think about that, and then hear Tremaine say, he changed my walk, he changed my talk. You done made me somebody else so that I can be in service to you, God. And I'm no longer who I would have been had you left me alone, according to religion. I'm not saying God did this. I'm talking about religion doing this. And so when I began to think about those words in that way, I'm not saying you have to. I'm thinking about it in that way. When I listen to Tremaine talk about how she's been changed, and I think about my own life as pastor, I think about my own life as growing up in the church, and I know how many of us have that story, I got hope. I found hope in these words because what Tremaine let me know is that we have, as Black folks, the ability to change. We have the ability to take the nature of who we are, the nature of who we have learned, we have come to learn that we are. We have the ability to take that and become something different if we consider it important enough. If we think that change is that powerful, that important, as what she's saying in this song, I have hope right now because I know that Black people can change if we want to. Tremaine helps me understand that. I feel like Tony wants to say something.
No, I'm not right now. I'm listening.
I don't want you to say I'm not letting you talk. And so Tremaine says, it is possible for us to look at ourselves and realize that there's something missing in our lives. There's something about our lives that we don't think is right anymore. Something about our lives that we think may be hindering us. Something about our lives that we think may be obstructing us, may be serving as a barrier when we are thinking about our relationship with God. There's something about our lives that we need to improve upon if we want to be the very best version of ourselves. And so for Tremaine and many of us, then what we do with that is say, who will come alongside me and help me become the very best version of myself? And in this case, it's Jesus. But what if as Black folks, we stopped for a moment and said, who I am right now as Black in America, as a target for the system of white inhumanity, if I stop for a moment and say, maybe, just maybe, there's something about my life that is hindering me from receiving or living into the liberation that is rightfully mine. Remember, this word change says that if you leave me alone, I'll become what I was created to be. If you leave me alone, if you let me be Black, if you let me live into my heritage, if you allow me to be what I was created to be, who I was created to be, without any of your constructs, without the construct of racism, without the construct of sexism, without the construct of patriarchy, without the construct of religion, if you allow me to live into who I was created to be in my liberated self, if I realize that there's something obstructing me from that liberation, then what would you do? Would you be willing to say, you know what? I'm going to give myself over to a community of people that will help me see that there's a new way to live. There's a new way to love. There's a new way to be, because that's what we say the church is, right? The church is that place, that community that comes alongside us and says, there's a new way to live. There's a new way to love. There's a new way to be. What if we realize that that being over there in the church is hindering us from the liberation that's possible if the church would leave us alone? And so if we know that we have the ability to change, because Tremaine has taught us that, are we willing to at least ask the question, just consider the question? Will you at least just think about the possibility that even as saved, sanctified Christians, it's possible that there is something still hindering us in this form, in this nature, from our liberation? Is it possible just to consider that that might be true?
Yeah, I like the question, and I agree with the question. But I think the thing, and it goes back to this word, religion. And you're right, religion stops, religion will stop growth. Religion will stop change, because religion will tell you you have to do this, this, and this. And so it stops you. And so I think the biggest question goes back to something that we talk about all the time, is how do I unlearn what I've learned? How do I unlearn what I've learned? How do you get the church to unlearn what's been learned based on religion? Because whoever I know we have this image of who God is, these pictures of God and Jesus. I know we have that idea. We have this symbol in our minds. But if we can get past that, then you can step into the creativity of who God created you to be. Step into the change that you can do through God. And so I agree with you that religion is the hindrance. And because religion is the hindrance, it has hindered the church. And so if you can unlearn the religion, then I think and I believe that you can actually live into what you're talking about.
Caller, you're live on the air, KBF at 8.3. Thanks for calling.
You're more than welcome. Good morning, Denise, Brother Toney, to those on your web and the listening audience. I just want to add a couple of statements to your conversation, because it's been everything from religion to recent events in Jacksonville and the effects of religion here and there, etc. We need to teach history in order to get grips on this religion that we call religion. Let's go back to the Crusades and figure out how European religion affected religions in Africa. We'll go that way, just to put a spin on it. Most folks won't even contemplate that in their reverence for religion. European Americans have a different religion from quote-unquote African Americans, those who were here as a result of the diaspora and their relatives, their descendants, shall we say. So the European American is the person that has got all of us in a teardrop about religion. I'm glad you mentioned Tremaine. I like her husband's song, Marvelous.
Marvelous. I was just singing Marvelous. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I like Walter's song of Marvelous, one of my favorites, because I moved by songs and meaningful lyrics as well as most people that I've come to be around and know. But when you have a person that can charge, like you said, the masters, and they're setting you narratives and agendas, like we got a governor here whose dad was a Baptist minister, and who is truly a man with evil people who will kill black people, African Americans, if you will, truly aligned with their thinking, if not their actions, because they're all in the same quote unquote boat together, and you don't ever hear anybody saying anything about that. And if you have a religion that's religious group and talking about what's affecting you mentally and physically, it's going to affect you. You can't even go into a Dollar General now. It was a big grocery store in Buffalo, now it's Dollar General in Jacksonville, Walmart in Southern Texas. You can't even go to church without the enemy coming in to shoot you down. And we have a political system right today, right here in the great state of Arkansas, where the governor is embedded with these very people, and a lot of these folks are religious fanatics. Think about that. And expound on that, if you will, in the future conversation today, because I just want to hear some input about the state of America that we're in today, in the state of Arkansas, where the folks who are in charge, just the other day, they went into and put out the books. Had someone remove the books that referred to, quote unquote, black African American history. Now, these European Americans don't seem to understand that they've got a history, and if we bring that history up, think about crusades and all subsequent wars and how religion plays a part in these wars, and we'll have a better concept about what's really going on in our lives today. But I sure would like for you to mention that, because this young lady who's the head of this state, her daddy was a Baptist minister. I wonder if she's going to send National Guard troops down to Jacksonville to protect black folks who are being shot by white supremacists. Think about that. That's a problem we got. It's more of a problem than folks coming over here from other countries. The fact of that for a minute. So I'm going to get out there and expound on those few little things I mentioned. And I hope somebody else joins in with a little more relevance in that I can bring to this conversation. I love talking to you. I love hearing you. I love you trying to get us together. And I love you, Brother Tony, waiting to be patient to put in a perspective. And hopefully somebody else is listening and they'll put their in. So thank you and have a blessed day.
All right. Caller, you're live on the air at KBF 88.3. Thanks for calling.
Yes, people of God, this is Brother Sawubona. Now, I want to promote and encourage change in politics. Now, when I say politics, you know, we, as people of color, have been going with the Democrats. Some go with the Republicans. I call them the hacks and the whacks. But right now, we have one of the most intelligent brothers that I know on the planet, Brother Cornel West, running with the Green Party. Now, you know, our flag colors are red, black, and green. But until I'll say it like this, we can get with the Green Party. I mean, you know, they got us divided. So if we all would get with the Green Party and back our Brother Cornel West, I'm pretty sure when the rubber hit the road and they, whether they be the hacks or the whacks, want our vote, we can in turn get something for our vote. We always look at the vote as a panacea or a cure-all for all of our problems, but at the same time, we are faced with this, I would say, we feel about what we want. They throw all kind of weapons of mass destruction in our way when it comes to our issues. I mean, I could go down the line when it comes to our issues. But we no longer can stand for this malicious neglect. But the brother Cornel West, like I say, he's running with the Green Party. And I say, you know, I've been talking about people of color for more, getting our own political party. But until we can try our red, black, and green, we ought to join the Green, back this brother, listen to him, and have them listen to him. So he's got a few white people, I'm pretty sure, that want justice and equality and better upward mobility for all people. But as long as we keep playing these political games, joining the hacks and the whacks, whether you be Republicans or Democrats, I say we change, get on the Green Party until we can come up with another party, whether it be people of color for more or whatever. But until we can find this red, black, and green, aggregate one accord to get some of our issues faced. I always say tricks are for kids. We don't want them tricking us no more. Like I say, they treat us like children. I'm talking about grown folks. So it's time for us grown folks to aggregate and let them know they can no longer divide us, but we're going to change and get what we want and to make a change. That's what Obama went on there. It's going to be a change, but he never did anything. He said he was the people, all the people's president. So he never did do anything, but, well, I'll say he did very little. But I'm pretty sure if Brother Cornel West get in there, and if he's got the power that they say presidents have, we might get reparations. We might get better. And we might even get some history lessons. Again, peace and love to all, but that's the change I'll be looking for. Let's stop doing the same thing, expecting a different result. Let's promote it and encourage each other to aggregate. Again, peace and love to all.
Okay, I think that one of the problems that we have is that we don't understand that religion is political, right? And I think that that's, so I'm gonna stick with religion. I'm not going there with Cornel West right now. I'm gonna stick with religion, and religion is political. And the reason I wanted to have this conversation is because when Angela Michelle Carr, who was 52 years old, and when Anolt Joseph, AJ LaGuerre Jr., who was 19 years old, and when Gerald Gallion, who was 29 years old, when they were murdered right down the street from Edward Waters University, the first independent college, HBCU, historically Black college or university in Jacksonville, maybe in the state, but I know in Jacksonville, he gets on the Instagram to address the people. And in his little, I didn't time it, but he said something about God 4 times. 4 times he talked about God. And one of the things that he said, because he was reminding us that the killer actually showed up on the campus of Edward Waters before he went to the Dollar General store. And the security team at Edward Waters would not let him enter because that's their job, right? To make sure that this person is supposed to be on campus. He was not. And then he left and he went to the Dollar General about 3 miles down the road, and he kills Michelle and AJ and Gerald. And then this man, this Black man, Faison Jr., doctor, he then gets on and says, well, we just want to thank God on our campus because we had a hedge of protection around us. And so those of you who are familiar with that kind of language, who is that? Oh, I love him. What's his name? Light skin, thickums, Fred Hammond. He sings the song, Jesus, be a fence. Yeah, okay. So we have this language about how God surrounds us, how God protects us, how the blood of Jesus covers us, how we can plead the blood of Jesus and we'll be all right. We say all of those things. And so we don't know the messages that we're sending. So he's talking about how the campus had a hedge of protection around them. But what does that mean about the Black folks that was in the Dollar General? So God ain't no hedge of protection around the Dollar General? Is that what you church folks are saying? Only those of you who are caught up in this system of, only those of you who believe in Jesus the way that he has been presented to us, only those of you who go to church and give you, only those of you have protection, because God ain't at the Dollar General. Is that what you're saying? And if that's not what you're saying, then pay attention to your language, because it's disrespectful for you to say that God is protecting you over here on Edward Waters College, but God ain't protecting the Black folks over here at the Dollar General. What message are you sending to us, right? And so I know that's not what he meant to say, but that's what he said. And so we've got to be careful, because what we have done, because not one time did this president call the Black folks to action. Not one time did he call the government to action. Not one time did he denounce the system of white, that people are calling it white supremacy. He said, well, we know that we are victims. I'm like, wait a minute, what? And so what we have allowed, because remember, this Edward Waters is a Christian college. So they're so busy being Christian that they done forgot how to be Black. And in order to be Black, we've got to make sure that we understand there is a target, not just on your back, it's on your head, it's on your heart, it's on your leg. There is a target every time you walk out the door. Mac ran it down for us. Ezekiel said, you can't go grocery shopping, you can't go to church, you can't go to a concert, you can't go anywhere, because what the world sees is Black. And the political messages that are being sent are clear, coming from the white folks, the system of whiteness, let me say that. The system of white inhumanity, the message is clear. We're going to give y'all as many guns as y'all want. You can get it on Saturday, you can go kill somebody on Monday. We're going to rig the system so that even if you do some time, it's not going to be much, because you only killed a Black body. They don't really matter. We're going to make sure that the children are living in lack, so that they also, Black children, so that they also become entangled in the criminal and justice system, because they're just trying to live, they're just trying to survive, and they end up using the weapons that we make readily available to white folks to kill Black folks and to Black folks to kill Black folks. The messages are clear from their side, but our side can't seem to change enough away from this system of religion to realize we are at war. But when I say things like that, what the Black church does is call me on the phone before I can even get in the car. My phone rings. Denise, you got to be careful now, because you don't want people to think, you don't want the church to get upset. That's what we do. And I'm not mad at y'all for calling me at all. Please keep calling me, because I need to hear what you are thinking. I need to know how you feel. My question is, what is it gonna take for us to realize that we have to change the way that we are living as Black folks in order for us to reach our goal of liberation, in order for us to be who God created us to be? We've got to affect change in our lives. And for most of us, that starts with taking a close look at how religion is being used as a political weapon in our lives. Let me get these comments in. God is funny acting in those situations. He reminds me of a drunk uncle. This is Deidre Levi. God is funny acting in those situations. She capitalized he, because we have been conditioned to believe that there is a pronoun that you can attach, that there is a gender that you can attach to God. He reminds me of a drunk uncle. She said, now you just made me do the happy dance. And so Phyllis Brown says he talked 8+ disgusting minutes, talking about the president, Zachary Faison Jr., the president of Edward Waters. He talked 8+ disgusting minutes, not calling us to unity, not calling us to abrogate solar being, not calling us to recognize that the power of our Blackness is under attack. And if we don't wield that power as a weapon, and I'm not talking about going out and slapping somebody upside the head. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about at every front, politically, in the healthcare system, in the education system, every front. If we would wield the power of the Black collective as just being, as being who we are without the change that people have brought to us, without the change that religion has convinced us that we need. We don't need no new way of walking. We don't need no new way of talking. We need to understand what it means to be who we are in our skin and understand the divinity that is attached just to that. And it ain't got nothing to do with Jesus. That's what we've got to understand.
Like I say, I agree with you, but I also have to say this. When we talk about change, it goes back to something I said earlier about unlearning what we've learned. You can't unlearn until you change. You have to have a change of mind, a change of heart, a change of viewpoint. You have to have a change of understanding. Until you get that change to truly look at religion for what it really is, then you're going to keep going back in that same cycle. And so, but that change starts with an individual that grows into the collective. And if the individual cannot change, because the one thing I've always said, that the collective is nothing but a bunch of individuals coming together. And so if the individual mind is not changed on how they look at religion, then it's going to stay the same.
Yes, but the individual cannot position themselves to change if they don't first have a mind that tells them that they need to change. If there's no willingness, if you don't see that Christianity in America is killing Black folks, if you can't see that, what's going to make you change? If you don't have a willingness to say, let me just take a look at this. Let me just pause and examine myself. Let me just see. Let me pause and calmly think about what I'm doing every Sunday or every Wednesday or every Tuesday night. I don't know what the schedule is anymore because I don't know. But whatever your ritual is that causes you to worship and sit at this master's, you can't even use that language with me. Talking about no God. You can't use the language of master. You can't call me no slave in the name of religion. You cannot, because I do not ascribe to that, because I know who I am and who I was created to be. And I know that now. I know that now because I was willing to say, girl, what is you doing? What is your life? Look at your life. What are you teaching people? What are you leading people into? I felt like I had a Dr. King moment. I feel that I am leading people into a burning house. And I'm leading, and that was me. Girl, get your life. But I was willing to look at myself and say, you have got to figure this out because something ain't right. And you have got to be willing to say, yes, I have caused harm. Yes, I have created trauma. Yes, I have been complicit. Yes, I have been used. Yes, I have been bamboozled. All the words. Yes, Denise, I have to be able to admit that. You go to the average Black person that's going to local church and ask them, can they at least admit that maybe there's something wrong with this religion? And you're going to get a no. So if you cannot admit that, how are you going to change?
Well, like I said, going back to something I said, it's the religion. It's the religion. If you're right, if you can't look and say, hey, religion is causing this harm. Religion is causing me to act like this. Religion is causing me to have blinders. Religion is doing this. So let me look at it and let me get religion out the picture. And if you can get religion out the picture, then you can start to change. You can start to grow. You can start to see, okay, as a Black person, I can see how religion has put a foot on my neck. I can see how religion has put an oppression on Black people. I can see it. But as long as you don't look at it that way and you keep looking at religion and nothing else, then you can't change.
Well, that's because one of the reasons we can't change is because we continue to go to these churches where we have Black pastors. I don't care what gender you are, or even if you're not a gender, we got Black pastors teaching us this religion. And if you keep putting it in front of me, we talk about this when you're giving children, when you're rearing children, whatever you keep telling them, that's what they're going to believe. If you tell a child you stupid, they're going to grow up believing that they stupid. So if we keep having these Black church leaders, if we keep having these Black presidents of HBCUs, if we keep having these Black judges, like the one that dealt that's in charge with deciding the venue, Stephen Stephen Jones, I think that's his name. If he dealt the blow to the fair fight with Stacey Abrams. If we keep having folks who look like us that are complicit in the system of religion, teaching us religion, how are we gonna know that it's wrong? So we got to start. You said it starts with the individual. It's gonna have to start with you, black pastors. When I say you, I'm talking about the collective of black pastors. Because I know sometimes you get upset. You talking about me? No, I'm talking about you, whoever you are, black pastor, complicit in religion. And if you are not willing as a black pastor to say, wait a minute, wait a minute, maybe I'm the one with blood on my hands. If you're not willing to say that, what the people gonna do? Because the people are depending on you. That's why they show up every Sunday. Religion is a system of fear, says Deidre. And then here's Phyllis Brown says, tell me why you maintain the title of pastor. Okay, well, especially since he do all this talking about, wait, Phyllis. And then Deidre says,
Oh, she talking to me?
Yes, she's talking to you.
Oh.
So, here's King Ross St. James. Oh, it's a new person. It is important to change the scope of religion, as religion was introduced as a means of control of slaves, and today it is conditional to politics, which controls the community. When one understands the political system involved in the black church systems, okay, come on, then we'll get somewhere. Y'all done got us started, and now we got to go. Your girl Lola is in the house. It is 10:01. I'm already out of time. Do not touch that dial. Stay right here at KBF 88.3 FM, because you're going to have some more music that's going to get into your body with these words. And the question becomes, how are you going to let those words change you so that you will be who God created you to be without all of these systems, especially the system of religion? We'll see y'all soon.